tonight we're going to start out because on Untethered I usually separate the episodes into different things, and tonight I'm going to do the politics side of it. We'll come back with a different, like a thing like current events, and I believe we were doing. I last year I had the internet's a scam, and then another one we got into the religious side of things. So this year we're going to kind of do it along those lines. Might be different topics, but tonight we're going to start talking about politics and the current events. It'll be something I'll bring up next week. But I think the best one to start out with would be this topic that Mark Edworthy brought up about. Well, I found an article from False Weekly which talks about it, and it's about age verification in Linux and system MD troubleshooting tools, and graphing phones, and longer Linux LTS kernels and more, where they were talking about it. I can do a little bit of reading on this. There's a video on YouTube that originally was what Mark Edworthy had mentioned to me before, but I mean I could read this, or you can open up and kind of talk about it if you want to, Mark. It's up to you.
You continue, and I'll interject if and when.
Okay, so it goes, U.S. states keep passing age verification laws that sound reasonable until you read the fine print. Colorado, for example, wants operating systems to broadcast age data to every app you install. And California has already passed a similar bill. Now, as governments push age checks deeper into apps and opening systems, what once sounded like a safety measure is starting to feel a lot like surveillance. And it's not just happening in the U.S. Reports suggest Brazil is also moving towards similar regulations. Now, while this model may fit ecosystems like Apple and Microsoft, where operating systems are tightly tied to online accounts, the Linux world works very differently. Yet developers from projects like Fedora and Ubuntu are already discussing how such requirements might affect Linux. We'll be keeping close eye on how this evolves. Stay tuned.
Brazil has already passed a law, statute 15211. Yeah,
So-
they already passed it.
So, what do you think is what's your take on this with the age verification on Linux?
Linux-based, Linux and BSD kernel-based operating systems. Well, did you see those notes I made?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's pity because that's a lot in there, a lot of material in there. Just going through them. Remind myself as well.
Now, you have a reference on there, but it's only showing like the Linux.
No, sorry, the notes I stuck in Elements chat last week. I gave you two PDF files.
Actually, I dropped down on one that says reference Linux age verification, the Brave New World, which is YouTube, and then this one is System 76 on age verification.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, no, I wanted to see.
6? Really?
Yeah, System 76.
Wow.
If I remember correctly, and you should give me a little bit warning that will remind me that we were going to do this week. The California has already passed a act, the Digital Age Assurance Act, and I think back in December. New York is aiming to pass a new act, and Colorado as well, wasn't it? And they are. Colorado and California are doing very similar sort of things where they're only asking for the current age of a user on a new account. So when the administrator or user installs an operating system into the device into the computer, it won't ask for age. As soon as you create a new account on that operating system, so in example, Windows, I can't remember if Mac does it anymore, but Windows, you've got to create user accounts for them too. And at that point, as far as California and Colorado's bill is concerned, the idea is to ask the user of their age at the present time, and as far as the New York bill is concerned, it will ask you for your date of birth.
Like right here, it says on System 76 on age verification laws, it says that there are two things I yearned in 1990 as a 10-year-old kid in the backseat. Road trips from Colorado to Illinois meant hour after hour of staring at row after row of corn stalks. The boredom was palpable, and the corn possibly responsible for a slight obsession with orderliness. If only there was a little TV that could help pass the time. Oh, and how Encyclopedia Britannica must contain the answers to so many questions about the curious world out there. Were city streets really full of black leather-clad people standing around metal drums, garbage ablaze? Rocky was particularly memorable. What else lurked in the oceans and bound across the savannas as I saw PBS Nature series happen to be on at the same time I sat in front of the TV. Alas, encyclopedias were too expensive for us. 36 years later, my under 13 kid struck up a conversation about the lifespans of jellyfish. He said there were immortal species. Skeptical, I pushed back. His confidence didn't waver because he did the research. He was right, and I learned about the teratopices. Don't any more than I could have ever dreamed at that age. So I don't know. I think that's
What's that got to do with the subject in hand?
age verification.
If I could here, so yeah, I was grounded so much as a kid that my entertainment was encyclopedia set. This is not this is a fact that most people know about me. But before that, before my estranged father decided to show up and be in the picture, and just wants to be a father all of a sudden, before he did all that, I was watching TV as a small kid, unsupervised, had cable, all right, watched HBO, watched Showtime, watched Skinamax. I've seen everything. I got an education of the world at watching Real Sex on HBO. When you're 6 years old. It's probably something I should, but I'm glad it happened because I was a mature kid, and I was able to handle that. And I learned a lot, and I learned a lot, and I learned a lot. However, other people are more susceptible to things and would be dangerous in the hands of children, especially. Children should not be hyperly sexualized. We all know this. Yada yada yada. So, age verification. See, I feel as though there are ways to do it without spying. Okay. For example, Roger, you buy cigarettes, right? You smoke cigarettes. You show your ID whenever you buy cigarettes. Boom, that's it, right? Well, you go and buy a computer, you show an ID. You want to go buy a phone, you show an ID. Not to go on record, not just as for the cashier to know that you are of age. That's just as far as it should go.
Okay. I think we're overcomplicating things there. At the present moment, the concept of age verification, as far as operating systems are concerned, nothing's been like I say, California has already established a piece of legislation. It's already been pushed. It's already been accepted, and I think it comes into force later on this year.
That's the word.
January the 1st, 2027. Just look on my notes there. The concept is that any piece of software that you install on your machine will review the age verification as put down by the operating system user account system. We've got in products like Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, Google, Android, could think of it, and iOS. They will be accepting this totally. And at the present moment, there is no sort of, there is no plans to create a centralized sort of collection point. It will just be stored on the machine. You've got companies like Conoco, the people that create Ubuntu, being one of the most well-known Linux kernel-based operating systems out there. You've got Fedora, which is governed by Red Hat, under the Red Hat enterprise system, and you've got a few other operating systems that are owned by corporations, which will obviously be forced to enforce these rules. But you've got other more community-related organisations such as Debian, which there isn't a single owner, because it's a more foundation. It's more of a community-led project. So, which makes the issue of who do you prosecute if the operating system owner, quote unquote, doesn't actually implement this age verification system. Because if there isn't a single owner, if there isn't a single development house, production house out there, who do you prosecute?
Well, I mean, yeah, now you're talking about making it complicated. And I would just say, well, first off, can we just not pretend that these people care about children? I mean, Pizzagate, Jamestown, Epstein files. Let's stop pretending like these people care, because they don't. This is surveillance, and well, hold on. But if it is surveillance, then we have a right to say no, and they can try to push the stuff on us in any different kind of form they want to. But if this is something that's enforced, yeah, I'm going to go back to something else. Then I'm going to go back to, if that gets corrupted, I'm going to go back to something else. If I got to have offline computers, I already do this already. I have my offline computers where I do my offline stuff that doesn't need to be accessed. You know, I've had my stuff hacked in the middle of video rendering. You know, it's like, no, I'm just going to have all my offline activities not governed by anybody but myself.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And then the online stuff, it's just kind of, I like to do a lot of misdirection. You know, my internet activity can be randomized by certain things that I have, some scripts, and so it's useless information. They want to actually monitor myself. So I mean, in the end, I mean, if it has to be proven that children are being affected, and then it needs to be proven that this measure would actually work to protect children. There's no reason to believe that any age verification software can actually truly monitor the person that is using a computer. Unless there's required, webcam, face recognition, all that stuff. They can go to hell with that.
You know what they're saying as well? They're saying that if you have a kid, but you get if that kid gets on your site and all that, plays any children's game, they're thinking that that you're doing something because there's a child, playing on your site. They were thinking that maybe you're doing something highly, maybe, I don't know quite how to phrase that, but the person was bringing that up on court thing.
That's the whole thing. It's like, when do they start accusing you of being a pedophile because you're allowing an underage kid on your site or on your but
it's a slippery slope, because not only is it surveillancing the adults, it is still keeping surveillance on the children, and that, for a pedophile government that we have, we don't want that.
Remember that according to Californian, I think also the Brazilian and the other Colorado and New York bills of California Act, and the other bills, Brazil and California Acts, and the Colorado bill and New York bill. This is related to all software. So, sure, an operating system has to store it locally, There's no centralized authority here to review it because it's stored locally on your device, the information. But
Matter where the
software has
if they're
the software.
connection.
So, no, I'll go further into that point in a minute. But as far as the operating system is concerned, software, all software have to be able to access that information and be able to review it. So we're talking about software as simple as, I don't know, a word processor.
Yeah, but at the same time, they got then if they can manipulate the whole process, then they need to have it set up to where it can be looked at as they're not the one that's creating it. It's actually happening. You know, remember how
there's no verification process. So according to any of these acts and bills, there's no verification process. So a user can create an account on the local computer, stick in any age they want.
Oh no, just not that. If they're able to do that, they'd be able to put whatever they want at any point in time in your computer. They're already gotten to the point where your files on your computer is well. Roger has came across where things came up missing. Okay.
Yep, me too.
And the only way that can happen is if Microsoft has got that thing to where they can delete things without you knowing anything about it. And if that's the case, they can add it to it.
Well, the thing he's getting at too is like when now it's gotten so ridiculous with Windows programs where they want you to actually have an account on Microsoft in order to freaking have have anything installed into your computer.
Yep.
And now they've also got it to where you have to constantly keep tabs on things that they are wanting to put on your computer as well. Like if you don't approve of AI, you better go in there and make sure that that's this. Every time you get an update, you have to make sure that that's actually not running, and also like the location that they actually make it to where every time you get an update that they can monitor where you're located.
In the US, that's true. It's been reported that let's say you switch off OneDrive access at system level in Microsoft Windows, and they switch it back on. Technically, you could make an argument under UK law, under British law, under the Computer Misuse Act 2001, I think, if I remember correctly, that would be a violation of the Computer Misuse Act because they are accessing your machine and modifying your machine without your permission.
Yeah, that would be like what you call copywritten material. What they're saying.
Well, something else that I have, and just on the same train of thought that you had there, with them accessing and your information like live while you're on the computer. As I was trying this Windows 11 for the first time a few months ago, I had a program I always have up, I'm constantly using, is Notepad, right? I use Notepad on the Windows 11, and I ended up shutting down the computer accidentally, and I didn't save my work. Usually Notepad will stop you from shutting down, but I have to do a hard shut off. But when I turned the computer back on, I pulled up my Notepad, and it has saved tabs. Everything was saved. And I noticed at the top right of the Notepad, it has my Teams icon, and it's like an AI co-pilot signed in. That blew me away.
Okay.
Microsoft literally taken my information.
Technically, you've agreed to that via the end user. You agreed to that at the time of installation by agreeing to the end user license agreement.
That doesn't make it right.
Yeah, but you're
Well,
on the,
irrelevant if it's right or wrong, you've agreed to it.
here in the
It's a legal
U.S.
life contract.
Here in the U.S., lawyers was reading that stuff, and they were saying that.
Yeah, Microsoft will have their own lawyers reviewing their own end of.
Well, yeah, but they were looking at the thing about you have to say yes or no about you agree about the deal, and they were reading it and all that, and they said it was so far out, draws out, how many pages of it, and on the way through all of it, it was more than they couldn't tell what they were talking about or what they were saying, but halfway through, because it was a bunch of gibberish, and that's coming from the lawyers. They said that the stuff did not make much sense after you hit about halfway through the thing. That they sat there and read it and all that. They even have it blew up the thing, and he said that the deal that you're doing works for them, not you. So they didn't actually make a agreed upon deal with you.
Well, Robert,
Yeah, on that point of understandability, under EU legislation and various European Economic Area country legislation, contracts have to be written in such a way that it's understandable by the contractor, so the reader.
and Robert, that's kind of what I've been getting into too. Like, it's always stacked against you whenever you look at these terms of services. Okay, they're never going to make something out where it's actually something that the person who's using the platform is going to agree on. Like and that's what you see in all of these platforms. That's why I walked away from Facebook. That's why I'm ready to walk away from YouTube, and I'm just sick and tired of it. You know what I mean? Because
as a video content creator, you can't really walk away from these platforms because it's your bread and butter.
You can if you're brave enough to do it. You know, I mean, and the thing of it is I get pretty much nothing from YouTube whatsoever. And
yes, but again, audience, my old thing about bums and seats.
Well, I mean, it's fine if that was the case. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's getting so bad with these terms of services and these phone games that people are just getting sick of it. You know what I mean? I left Facebook because of the nonsense. Okay, when I posted something 10 years ago, I shouldn't freaking be hit with a freaking content warning because of something I posted 10 years ago.
Speaking of which, side note. Somebody has hit my documentaries on YouTube and has flagged me.
For what?
Copyright, which doesn't apply because it's all transformative and everything's commented on. I've even transformed every piece of video that I used. Reversed it, changed the color, changed the speed. So, no actual system within YouTube flagging. It's some hater who came about all of a sudden. Probably some fed because I'm building up things and I want to promote my documentaries. However, that doesn't mean anything because guess what? I'm on Rumble and BitChute. My business card reflects every location that I have my documentaries. So it doesn't mean
but you can always appeal the complaints anyway. Interestingly, as far as the California and I think Colorado, or California Act and Colorado's bills concerned, any website that provides, or any platform that provides access to download the ability to download software is affected by this age requirement. According to the current draft of the New York bill, any website at all, any platform at all, irrelevant if it allows for software download or not, is affected by this age verification process.
Now, before you guys start going any further, I want to point out that Bob Dub has entered the room, and this is a perfect opportunity to introduce Robert to Bob Dub. Now, she's gonna talk.
Are you sure?
She's gonna talk a beautiful voice, Robert. So do not fall in love with this woman. I'm just giving you a warning ahead of time.
Well, I can try.
But welcome, Bob
You're
Dub.
silly. Thank you very much indeed, Roger.
Yep.
I thought I
Very
would just
sexy
come and
voice.
hang out with you.
Well,
She has timing. Just about to talk about my experience with some adult sites.
No.
No.
Now, Bob Dub is from New Zealand, Robert, and Robert, this is Bob Dub. Bob Dub, this is my brother Robert. So that's the other RH on there.
Hey, Robert. So pleased to meet you. That's my father's name. So I highly approve of your name. So we're off to a very good start.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I will say, okay, I apologize if I say something or do something stupid, okay?
Oh, yeah, me too. Okay, I'll put that out there too.
Okay.
I apologize.
So I might say or say something that might get you in a crawl.
Well,
That's okay.
We got Anthem
It's
Square.
very difficult to say anything that keeps me mellow. I'm usually neurotic and psyching out about something.
Okay.
So if you happen to say something while I'm psyching out, that might,
Okay.
not be causation. It may just be correlation.
yeah,
Hey, Roger.
yeah. Well, I was getting ready to say she's been around me, so she's kind of broken in. She hasn't.
You ready to poke her in, huh?
Kind of. Yeah. Well, Robert.
He tells me to comply. Every day we do this thing, he says, "Do you comply?" And I have to say, yes.
No, I said thank you
Yes.
for complying.
Roger.
Thank you.
Really, is that what it's
Thank
Roger,
you.
I comply.
Yeah.
No.
You should see when he gets on his hands and knees when they do that with
I don't
girls.
know. I don't know if I could
Well,
prefer
Robert,
that.
this
I
is
think
this
we
is
shouldn't
where
go there. Okay.
Okay.
yeah, this is where you said you're sorry ahead of time. But
Okay, I'll count that as one credit.
Did you hear anything about what we were having a conversation about, Bob Dub?
You were talking about YouTube and Rumble and getting flags and things.
Okay, so let me kind of go over some of the stuff that we were discussing. Now, Mark had brought up a topic that we were going to use here for Untethered, the first episode, and it has to do with open source age verification that they're wanting to do with Linux.
It's technically not as open source as any software at all or any operating system at all, irrelevant if it's open source or if it's a commercial thing item.
To be honest, I think it's more disturbing that open source is being brought into this. You know what I'm saying? Because like Linux, everybody understands what Linux is all about. And when you start putting age restrictions on Linux,
Actually, very few people actually understand what Linux is about.
the people who do understand what Linux is they understand the implications. Like this is some pretty serious stuff, man.
You know what's really sad, guys? I was on Facebook. You know how they sell stuff for enhancement of guys' stuff? Well, I'm watching, nothing I know, I'm seeing this guy nailing this woman like you wouldn't believe. Look, they say, take this gummy bear and you get her going. And I'm like, and this supposed to be Facebook where children's on there and they're sitting there taking Facebook and Google and YouTube to court about stuff like this. And I'm sitting there thinking, and you wonder why people have that thing about stuff like this. This is, if they're doing stuff like this, I would just say, you know what, make it out like it's a business then, not for individual, because if you're selling adult stuff for the two adults, why not have it set up for more or less for where it's located for the adults
Well,
to the adult sites?
let me kind of say something about that. Like that kind of stuff doesn't belong on.
Well, yeah, I know that,
Well,
but
I
if they're
mean,
going to have it both ways,
no, they shouldn't have it both ways. Like, why are you worrying about people being verified for their ages when you're allowing that kind of porn on freaking the television, or you're allowing it on the internet, and they're just openly throwing it out like it's okay, but then they
yeah.
want to have age verification for people
Oh,
at
and
the same time that they're doing that. You know what I mean? I think that's when it comes to that, I understand that. You know what I mean? They have such a big problem with freaking porn, but then they want to advertise Blue Chew, I believe is what they call it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Male enhancement stuff, and then
Oh yeah, Blue Chew. Actually, as a matter of fact, I was watching the Scissor Brothers podcast a few days ago, and they were actually, the fleshlight with the mouth on it
yeah.
that moves by itself. They literally had that running and talking about it during their ad read. I'm like, wow, I was blown away.
There are a couple of interesting things that that needs to be considered. Considering that in the US, this is being treated from state to state, and on a and this is in the wider picture. This is being treated. From country to country or from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, we have issues where there's a mixed match of laws here. Simple example of this is the UK Online Safety Act, and the US First Amendment. We are seeing this with what's that company that I keep on talking about? The US based, and that is only based in the US social media platform.
oh, that's well, yeah, you keep.
I can't remember
It's,
what.
my goodness, it's
No,
Rumble.
let's scroll.
What about Trump?
Yeah, the UK Office of Communication is trying to sue, and because,
Okay.
and they are trying to sue the Ofcom for the same thing.
That's actually something I should know too, because it's an older platform.
We've been talking about that a lot.
Yeah, I'm having a brain for it too.
Yeah.
Well, I have something I wanted to bring up. I already did already, but I'm going to go into it. I want to know if you guys know anything about this, because before I left California, I think we talked about this. There was going to be some age verification on these adult websites. It's going to be state by state. So, as I traveled my road trip from California all the way to here in Illinois, I checked every state, every motel room, every state that we stopped in. There was like some states, it was like whatever, you can see the pages. Other states required you to put in your information before you can even see the front page. So later on, I found out, or at least I had got some information saying, as I tried to revisit and see if it was doing that here, and there was a warning saying, "Do not give us your information. That was fraud. That wasn't us." And then you click OK, and then you can see the site. So if that was fraud, who did it? I don't know if anybody knows anything about this here, but who did it?
I'm not familiar with the particular.
Yeah, it was said, "Do not give us your information. That was fraudulent."
The company I was thinking of was 4chan LLC, or 4chan Community Support LLC, subsidiary of 4chan LLC, where the UK Office of Communication, UK government approved regulatory and competition authority, is attempting to deny sue 4chan for breaching UK online safety on the UK's Online Safety Act rules. But the UK Online Safety Act is contradictory to the US First Amendment, because 4chan hasn't got any offices in the UK, and I believe that they haven't got any offices in Europe at all. I have to double check that, but I believe that they haven't. They cannot be. They are not technically. They've got no. They're not technically in those jurisdictions, so they're not in the jurisdiction of the UK. So, and as such, they didn't have to abide by UK law.
Well, you were talking about, you might know this, about the cell phone thing, about the big old stink about how they were reading your texts and all that, and your internet thing through your phone. And they were tapping into it, because in the U.S., they got busted for that. They did. Yeah, and here and in the UK, they were doing it to citizens over there as well. And it was a big old stink, and they said that they got people took them to court over it because they were tapping into their phones, reading their emails, their fax, their text messaging and all that. About 10 years ago.
Okay, yeah. This was long before GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations. Technically, don't want tapping into because things like SMS, short messaging service, text messages, and emails are technically stored on a server, on servers that are provided by these companies.
Yeah, but when it's on your phone, that's the thing.
Technically, they were reviewing the data before they entered your phones.
Oh, well, yeah, but on the way to your phone, they were reading it. And that's the problem, because when they were doing that, plus that's what you're talking about, the age thing, okay, and what they're talking about too, is if they hear a child on your phone, okay, talking to not you, but someone else, and if they think that something shady going on, they're going to send a red flag off about it, because for one, they do not know who this person is talking to your child on your phone. You know,
that's the slippery slope I was telling you about. If they're monitoring us, then that means they're also monitoring the children. Pedophile government, we don't want that. Because all they have to do is say, "Oh, well, you're a bad person. You shouldn't have your children. We're going to take your children, give it to the state." Oh, state. Oh, they just might disappear into a freaking child pornography field.
but
Yeah, but
before you guys go on, let me kind of bring another aspect to this because this is something that just I found out recently on YouTube. If you guys don't know, like I have Roger Hansen, which is my main account, but I also have an alternate account that I put Naroki's shows on and Jaffe's shows too. And with that, when I went on there just here recently, and lo and behold, the only way I could get in there is if I had two-factor verification on. Now they have an on-off option, and because that channel is so small, I cannot use it if I don't have two-person verification on. And there's no option to do it or not. It's just that's the way you are, and that's what they're starting to enforce. Like this verification crap is getting way out of control. And people,
Yeah, Google does. They say they have the right to turn it back on if you turn it off. They've done it to me repeatedly.
You've agreed to it by agreeing to the terms of service agreement.
We know that, Mark. We know that.
yeah, but
It doesn't make it right.
yeah, but here's
it
the
doesn't.
thing. When you read that stuff and all that, I bet you can't tell where it's at. You know, because I mean,
again,
they get all that.
in
Chop it
EEA countries, in most majority of EEA countries, that information has to be clear to the user. Must be understandable by the user. So it has to be written in such language that is understandable
At what
by
IQ level?
Robert,
by a reasonable person.
Mark, at what IQ level? There has to be a standard of what a reasonable understanding is.
In most countries, the term reasonable is written into legislation. There is definitions provided.
Also, Robert, let me point out to you, like the only person I know who would probably know where that is in the terms of service is Mark Edworthy. He's obsessed with the terms of services. So if you want to know where it is, just ask him. He'll find it for you.
If I got to remember what's the Australian Act? So just now. The UK Online Safety Act and the Australian Act, which I can't remember what it's called now. I'm just trying to find it. No, I can't find it. The name of it. But yeah. Both acts state any website that is accessed by the citizen of that country. So in the UK, by the citizen of UK, and in Australia, by the citizen of Australia. So if a user actually, or if a person actually accesses a site that is hosted in Switzerland, as an example, and that Swiss site actually violates the UK Online Safety Act. In theory, that Swiss site, or the owners of that Swiss site, is breaking the law in as far as the UK is concerned. And as I point out with the 4chan issue, UK citizens can access 4chan, but 4chan is based in the US and has got no offices in the UK. Therefore, they can technically, as far as they are concerned, ignore the UK Online Safety Act.
Well, see, this is what I was talking about too. When it comes to that, you put the blame squarely on the platforms because of their laziness. I brought it up to you about layering the terms of services for these platforms. Like, I shouldn't have to be freaking held accountable because of regulations that were put in by the UK or by the European Union. If I choose not to accept those terms of services, then I should be able to. Now, these platforms like YouTube and all of these other and Facebook and all that, they're lazy. They don't want to layer the terms of services out so that it goes according to jurisdiction. Okay, and not only that, but I should be given the option of accepting those terms of services or not accepting them at any point. Now, if they want to take away my freaking right to stream or record or put uploads on, then that's fine. But don't get rid of them. Don't get rid of my identity on that platform. Make it to where I have the option to later on say, okay.
So every time you look into a site, you have to agree to a terms of service agreement.
Right, but
or every time you look into a section of that site.
I shouldn't have to be held. I shouldn't have to freaking accept these updates that they wish to add on.
You shouldn't have to. I think content. All these sites
you've
say,
also
if you do not agree to the terms of service, then please do not
wrong.
use the site.
No, that's wrong. Like, I shouldn't have to be bound to accept those updates because I agreed to the first one that says, hey, you from this point on, the terms of services can change according to my standards, and you have nothing to say about it.
Or what?
If you have something to say about it, you lose your account, and it's all. You know what I mean? That's bullshit. That's called forced compliance, and that's exactly what it is. Okay.
And they were showed too that companies like that would take and use your computer for storage. Where when you do the downloads, they would have it set up to where when you say yes, that you would act like a storage to their stuff in your own computer at any point in time. Where
that's as far as Microsoft's concerned with their OneDrive policy, but that's not true for other operating systems.
Well, yeah, but like experimental or whatever, it was shown on the thing on TV about companies doing that stuff to where when you use their stuff, you would say yes, and they would set make room for their stuff to be put in, and where when they want it, they can pull it out without you even knowing of it.
It's a bit more complicated than that, but
no, not really.
In general principle, that's the sort of concept that Microsoft pushes at this present moment. But we've got a number of different issues there. We've got a jurisdictional issue. We've got an issue of different laws meeting. Well, again, jurisdictional. What I can see is that this is to say prelude to a enforced digital ID system.
Yeah, really, I do agree with that. That is true. I mean, it's getting like I said, it's getting out of hand when it comes to this verification crap. You know what I mean? And it's like we were talking about John Altman's article with Forbes in one of our previous streams. And he's all for enterprise IA to be regulated, where they can go in and they can data mine all the information that's coming out of that. And I understand that's all about the corporate world and stuff like that, but once they've established that in the corporate world, you know what the next step is. It's going to go into the private accounts.
Well, you're talking about the debt where for children and all that. That's one right there, the AI. Because with the AI going through the internet, supervising and all that, anything that sends a red alert to the AI is going to return that into whoever and then who knows what will happen? Who will pop up out of the blue at your house? You know,
So what we're looking at is, in effect, a digital identification system that is
Where-
regulated by a single body, a sort of international body. May that be the United Nations, may that be the Blair Foundation, or
you
whatever.
know that
but
maybe
a-
war games. You know that maybe war games.
yeah, the
Okay,
19
that machine there. Okay, perfect example. A machine that powerful and all that can run things quickly. Play games like that. You take a machine that you hook that up to the internet. You give it you give it functions, what to look and all that, and you all over the world, that thing's going to be hitting everything, and anything and it'll be feeding right back to all that data back to the person that wants it, and nobody will ever know about it.
Under the EU stroke EEA has various countries in the EEA have got the as of 2017, 2018, the General Data Protection Regulations, which is meant to protect users from having their personal identifiable information, so name, age, address, being leaked to or being leaked. So if I give let's say if I give my name and address to a company, then under the General Data Protection Regulations, they cannot provide that information to another company
That's not what
without
I'm
my
talking about.
consent.
I'm talking about computer to computer, where each
It's still it's irrelevant of how the mechanism is done. It's still there is still a human entity or a company behind that.
But if a company, even if a company makes a computer that advanced and that fast, does all that, and it's set up to where it talks to the computers and all that. Well, it's not saying that without going, like you said, about your data and all that, but getting from like working itself, if they want to find out how many people with your name and where you're like, okay, where you live at, how many people with your name and your age would you know that lives right there where you live at? And a computer can understand that and look up through the phone book, digital phone book, on how many people, okay, and do a whole background all on its own, everything about them people of you without going through the phone company. I mean, without people giving the information, but looking for it. Looking at the how.
We kind of get the idea of all that, Robert.
My thing is, why don't we just have? And I think we should start doing this, like different, like neighborhoods, like different neighbors, and you have like wireless LANs. Yeah, we should have our own internet, like FireWire.
Now since we've had a decent amount of conversation here, let's open this up to Bob and get her take of it, because we haven't heard much from her. What's your take on all this, Bob?
It's very difficult for me to understand, and it's good to sit here and listen to you, talking seriously and not ranting and screaming and say the world is coming to an end. Because I find that it's very difficult for me to have the conversation. I think that the games that I play with my mind are not men games. You think about real stuff. I think about what could be.